All right, guys, this is, of course, not the first time that NBA players have used their platform to protest. In 1961, Bill Russell and a few of his Celtics teammates boycotted an exhibition game in Lexington, Kentucky, after a hotel restaurant refused to serve them just because they were African American. In 1991, a few months after Rodney King was beaten by white police officers in L.A., Bulls guard Craig Hodges asked Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson to boycott Game 1 of the '91 finals. This was in an effort to call out racism. Now, MJ and Magic considered it extreme. They did decide to play, although they were having the conversation, guys. And then 5 years later, in '96, Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf sat during the national anthem. He actually sat for a few games, but then the national press started to pick up the story. He was suspended 1 game by the NBA while playing for the Nuggets. He later said that he viewed the U.S. flag as a symbol of oppression and racism, opted to pray during the anthem to avoid future suspensions. And of course, in 2012, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and the rest of the Miami Heat taking a photo with all of the players wearing hoodies in response to the murder of Trayvon Martin, a 17-year-old who was killed in Florida while walking back from the store wearing the same kind of clothes as the Heat wore in their tribute. And then, of course, 2014, the Clippers staging a silent protest ahead of Game 4 of the first round of the playoffs against the Warriors, turning their jerseys upside down, throwing them into a pile midcourt after tapes surfaced of ex-Clippers owner Donald Sterling making racist comments. And that brings us to Matt Barnes, who was a member of that Clippers team. And look, your team came about as close as we've seen to a just team-wide boycott during a playoff game.
Right.
Now that you see what has happened here, do you wish you had done anything differently? Do you feel good about having set the stage for what the players did today? How do you, what lens do you watch this with? I love that we have you here to tell us this.
It's different lenses. It's a completely different lens, obviously, from when I played. I was one of the leading voices in the locker room along with Chris and the rest of the guys, and we decided we just didn't have enough information at the time. This was new to us in our generation, so to speak. So we decided to do the silent protest. After watching Blackballed on Quibi 6 years later, I think we could have handled it a little different possibly and actually sat out. But, you can't change what it is. But I think that was the beginning of athletes talking outside of sports. Normally stick to basketball, dribble, you say what you want to say. But I think that was the beginning of LeBron kind of took the reins right there. We as players, once we were done, kind of started speaking on it. And that really started opening the door to us addressing issues outside of sports.
Yeah, and we see through the years there were different sort of hiccups of it and times when guys felt more empowered, less empowered. And there's a big gap between some of those years that I was just mentioning. And absolutely,
but nevertheless, it's been the same narrative throughout racism.
Absolutely. I mean, Richard, if you were in the situation in that meeting this morning, what would you have voted?
Well, for me, it's always been hard, and Matt understands this. We're not players right now, and so to like give your opinion the last 24 hours has been very, very tough on what they should do. The only thing that we can do is say, hey, whatever you guys choose to do, we will support you. The one thing that I will say is that the NBA has done more than any other sports team.
No question.
Any other league, and even when this Let's Go to the bubble started, they have donated, they have pledged to donate hundreds of millions of dollars towards different fundraisers in different communities. So they've done so much. So the NBA, I don't want to say wasn't the enemy here. So to all of a sudden say, hey, we're done playing basketball, or I think Matt's situation where it was a part of the NBA, that was a lot more of an intense situation as far as like internally. So I just felt like, the players made the right decision. There is so much of a platform that is here and that has been used, that will continue to be used, and you have the ear really of the entire planet right now. So to take that away, and we knew this, social injustice was not going to stop while they were in that bubble, and it's going to continue. And our goal, and all the players' goal, is just to open up these conversations and let people know how concerned we are and that we want to see our communities and ultimately our country improve. Our country can get better. I do believe that this is the best country in the world, but I also believe that this country can be exponentially better with how we handle certain things.
And I think, too, one thing, I think if we want to use the platform of sports to boycott, boycott the Olympics. You mean the Olympics are where you're supposed to honor your flag, honor your country. We're going out there and getting gold medals for our country, and they're supposed to represent and love us. And like Doc said, we're tired of being a part of a country who doesn't love us back. So if we want to make some real noise and use sports as the vehicle, as Kaepernick used the anthem as his vehicle, We need to boycott the Olympics.
That's a very interesting idea, and I'm sure we'll be part of the
I
conversation.
like that, Matt.
as they get
Okay.
the next year forward. I mean,
like
absolutely, right? You're wearing that jacket. You've
on,
got
man.
that draped over your shoulder. There's no question.
That's really, I mean, that's going to make some noise. If we want to boycott something, I mean, I think the Olympics would be the one.
I will say, Richard, I do understand as much as the NBA has done, and you're right, compared to other sports leagues, they've done a lot. I'm not sure that's the bar.
Still
we
not
want to
enough.
be
No.
Still
just
not enough.
slightly hopping over.
But we do
And
lead the way.
Yes.
I do like that they are getting an audience with these owners. These are billionaires. They have access to all kinds of political resources. And frankly, a lot of times, some of these team owners, not all of them, but some of them are spending their money and political capital on political candidates and interests that work directly in opposition to the players who are
Absolutely.
making some of their money for them with their talent, with their bodies, with their hard work.
Absolutely.
So I think that the fact that they're getting in front of these owners is a great step, and I'm happy to have the NBA be the one to raise the bar.